Check. There we go. All right, Aquarius, that's fitting for your reading. Once again, I don't remember exactly what happened last month. I think you had a gnarly reading. You got another one. Aquarius, you're getting slammed. Okay, there's no other way to put it. You're getting absolutely slammed these days. This year has probably been a doozy. Last month was probably a doozy. This month is a doozy. Sometimes just the way the stars are aligned and the celestial energies are there, you go through one of these periods where it's like the wisdom cycle, right? It's not something that's there to punish you or make you feel bad, but it's really to teach you lessons, right? And that is precisely the energy that you are in, Aquarius. And, it's just one of those things that the more you can kind of take away from this experience, the better off you will be at the end of the day. But it is not necessarily the most comfortable energy to be in, okay? Right? So here's the deal, Aquarius. You are likely to face persistent challenges in your progress due to the conflicting influences of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, right? Jupiter is going retrograde in Taurus. It's not the end of the world. It's actually not that bad of a thing, but your positions of those planets pose challenges related to change and growth, okay? Now, those are also the areas where you're likely to experience the most kind of energy, right? So growth, you really are, this is designed for your well-being, for your growth, but when you're actually going through the ringer, it doesn't necessarily feel like that. So just keep that in mind as you're getting slammed with various energies, that it is not a punishment, right? This is not karmic retribution. This is not some situation that is designed to make you suffer and feel pain, but rather to get you to realize innate truths about yourself and your relationship to the external world, okay? Now, it may feel that just as you overcome one obstacle, another one quickly emerges, making the journey quite tumultuous. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's just a vibe. Like, I don't know what else to say here. We will have some suggestions. I'll have some suggestions on how to kind of relieve this, but really more, it's a perspective shift, right? It's more about, can you maintain your belief and conviction and faith through adversity? And I can tell you, as someone who's kind of gone through this Negrito process over the past couple of years, I'll explain what that is. I've had my Pluto opposition to my sun for a while now. It beats you down. It crushes your spirit, your soul, your body, your mind, your emotions. But there is a functionality to it, right? In order sometimes to shed your skin and become the person who you really feel yourself to be, you have to go through this process of kind of grinding yourself down into kind of a pulp. And that's similar energy that you're going through right now, Aquarius, with kind of these placements. You've also had Saturn just chilling like a villain in your sign for so long, and just when it moves out, it moves back in. And so it's just one of these situations where you're learning about these long arcs of life, discipline, responsibility, maturity, and you have this tendency, Aquarius, to kind of want to go off into space, get into the dreaminess, get into the lofty ideas, daydream, just kind of get out of your body, dissociate, right? And it's just like, it's one thing that, like, it's not a bad thing, but it's just like you have to go through this process in order to get through to the other side. Numano, you're saying over on Twitch, I heard it said that when people begin to yoga seriously, lots of their karma comes up to be cleared. Yeah, and it is that. It's like you actually taking this path of kind of ascension and waking up and just like really getting in touch with who you are. It is taking it seriously. And we'll get into the cards a little bit because they have some help there in terms of how to like handle this transitional period. And September absolutely is a big transitional period. But it's really important as you go through this stuff that you don't lose heart, that you don't get discouraged, that you don't buy into that this is a permanent state of kind of suffering, and this is going to be so difficult forever, and this is just what life is. It's just one setback after another. That's not the correct approach to take from it. Trust me that the tension that is built now, when it alleviates, gives you that kind of release and exhale that you're looking for, and it is coming. It's not something that is like, so far in the future that you're never going to get the satisfaction of experiencing it. It's just you are in this process right now of transformation, and it's kind of a difficult and sometimes painful process, okay? Now, instead, if you can direct your focus towards the specific details and diligently address any necessary connections along the way, that's going to serve you really well. So focus in on the specifics rather than the general arc of maybe what hasn't been going right, and you should be fine. Just like the more granular you can get, and this works particularly well with the energy of Virgo season, you're going to be served in a manner that really helps you out. The more broad you get in your thinking, maybe the more difficult it's going to be to kind of like allow yourself to see the usefulness or functionality of these experiences you've been going through, okay? But if you take that approach, you will gradually find that things begin to fall into place, allowing for smoother advancement, right? So you're not going to have to get this like, oh my God, one step forward, two steps back, or I just finished this thing and another one came to slam me in the face. So really focusing on the minutia and the specific details of what you're learning and what you're going through is going to help you kind of get through these situations in a way that, probably isn't as uncomfortable as maybe it's been. Okay. Nevertheless, the most arduous complications arise from the presence of Venus in Leo, which is ending its retrograde, which seems to be persistently hindering the fulfillment of your desires. So you may have this experience of like, okay, I want this thing, I'm going to get this thing. Where's the thing? It didn't happen. Now, the key fly. Come on, man. This fly like only comes out when I record. I'm here, it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, here's the thing with desire, right? It points us in a direction so we can actually achieve and recognize and realize our goals. But if we get impatient, if we say, oh, where's this thing? It's not happening. It's never going to happen. That's the point in which we actually prevent the thing from happening or manifesting, when we give up on the idea that it's possible. So it's very important to maintain your sense of faith, right? Imagination, prayer is imagination plus faith. So being able to cultivate an idea of something in your mind and then truly believe that that's going to happen is how we pray. And you have to recognize that even if it's not on your time frame or in your time frame, it's still going to happen. So just don't give up, use a little bit of perseverance, and try not to get discouraged if things are happening exactly on the time frame that you would like them to happen, okay? So attempting to forcefully change your opinion is unlikely to yield desired results right now. So you can't like force yourself to think something different. That's not what it's about. Instead, it's more beneficial to embrace a sense of understanding and acceptance, recognizing that differing viewpoints exist. So if you can find a different way to kind of analyze your situation or a different perspective, maybe a more kind of cosmological view, a bird's eye view of your situation, you may find it a little bit easier to understand why things aren't happening on the time frame you would like them to happen on, okay? Despite having like a very vibrant mind right now and ideas that really do carry significant impact for your life and for just the world at large, it's people may not be sharing this opinion right now. So you may feel a little bit stagnant. You may feel a little bit stuck. You may feel like, people aren't just listening to me, even though I know this is a good idea or I know this is the way things work. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. So just recognize that these ideas and thoughts and feelings you have do have validity. They are absolutely for your benefit, and they are good ideas. You don't have to get validation from external forces and external people in order for them to be good ideas. So don't necessarily go outside of yourself looking for that validation right now. There will be a time and place where people recognize that what you are trying to share and trying to communicate has worth and has value. That's coming later though, okay? So it's through open-mindedness, though, and respectful dialogue that meaningful progress can be achieved. So really trying to attempt to communicate with other people in a thoughtful, open-minded way is going to go a long way for you, right? So if you are closed off to the ideas of others, closed off to the idea of people kind of sharing your viewpoint, and like you're kind of trying to like demand people listen to you. That is not going to work. People are going to be turned off by that energy. It's not going to be something people respond to well. It's probably going to leave you feeling more frustrated, them feeling more frustrated. So if you have a strong opinion and you have strong conviction, you know, try to just present it in a way where you can see other viewpoints. That's kind of crucial at this point. Don't allow yourself to believe that it has to be done your way or the highway. That's just going to leave a lot of kind of difficulty and strife lingering in the air, and that's not, again, going to benefit you or anyone else. Okay, now in September, the influence of Mars in Libra is going to bring forth an opportunity for growth and development by encouraging you to make concessions, right? So this means like, yeah, you might have to compromise a little bit this month. You may have to say, you know what, maybe this isn't exactly how it has to go down, but as long as it still conforms to my idea and my feeling of what it ultimately will be, that's okay. So if you get too attached to the idea of what specifically needs to happen, you cut off a lot of possibilities in terms of how that can happen. And I'll give you an example. I use money a lot for this type of stuff. You know, people will be like, hey, I want a lot of money. I want a lot of money. I want a lot of money. It's like, well, why do you want the money? And then they'll go, okay, well, I want the money for X, Y, and Z. I want it for a house. I want it for a car. I want it for a vacation. And I'll often pose a question at that point is, well, what if you just got the house? What if someone just gave you the house? What if someone just gave you a car? What if you won a vacation and had nothing to do with money? Are you still okay with that? Most people's answer is yes, which is the correct way to look at it, because what does it matter if you bought it or not? But if you're attached to the idea of having to make money and then purchase something, you're cutting off so many possibilities for how that situation can arise. What does it matter how it gets there? What does it matter if you're gifted it or it falls into your lap or some crazy set of circumstances arises that allows that to kind of come into fruition? It doesn't. But if you're specifically focusing on one specific way that it has to happen, then, you know, you're really ultimately cutting yourself off from a lot of possibilities. And there's a wide spectrum of possibilities for how things can happen. And to be quite honest, usually we're not great about nailing the specifics of situations. Even if you go through like a very detailed imaginal act and it's a very specific way something that happened, yes, it's possible it will happen in that very specific way. But at the end of the day, the generative force there, the operative power, is the feeling of knowing that it's happened. It's not actually the actions that you've gone through that creates that situation to arise. It can conform to that, but it's the feeling and the conviction and the mood that you persist in that actually allows those things to happen. So just be a little bit flexible and be willing to make some compromises and concessions in your ideas of how things have to happen to allow them to come to the surface, okay? While it may initially appear challenging or even impossible to compromise, rest assured that you possess the capabilities and inner strength to do so. So yes, you may not want to compromise. You may not want to give up on the specific idea of what it is that you want to happen, but you can. There's nothing that says you can't. There's no reason that you can't do this. There's plenty of reasons that you can do it. So just recognize and find that kind of innate wisdom and strength that exists within you, and then just like kind of make moves towards the thing. It's no big deal, right? The cosmic alignment right now presents a chance to step out of your comfort zone, which is very important because you might not be comfortable anyway, and explore alternative approaches that may lead to favorable outcomes. And that's exactly what I was talking about with that kind of money situation. Just let things happen the way they need to happen. Don't get so fixated on the way you want them to happen. Again, meta states, joy, ecstasy, love, kindness, those things are totally okay. You can you cannot compromise on those, right? Those meta states that encompass all of these other ways of being are totally fine. It's just, don't get so attached to the specific way they need to happen, because that is probably going to just lop off a lot of opportunities for you and maybe even delay the speed in which these desires start to kind of manifest, right? Okay. What truly sets you apart, Aquarius, is your unpredictable nature, and you know about this, which often captivates those around you. It's hard to pin an Aquarius down, right? One day you can be like this, the next day you can be like that. This mysterious kind of captivating quality of you being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, is amazing. It draws people in. It also reminds people of the limitless possibilities that exist within the spectrum of life, right? You can do whatever it is you want to do at any given time. Don't get rid of that aspect of you. When you're out of power, Aquarius, is when you are fixated on an idea or a way that you have to do something. If that's the only way to do it, you're limiting kind of what your innate skill and talents are, which is being open to all possibilities. It's like a dream, right? A dream doesn't have to happen a specific way. It can happen in any number of ways. And one of the reasons we kind of enjoy our dreams is because there is so much possibility. It doesn't necessarily work within the framework of our natural physics that exist in this terrestrial world, right? So try to approach your life in the same manner, kind of almost in like a dream-like manner where anything is possible and you can do whatever you want. As you begin to approach that mindset, you should be able to loosen the shackles of your mind and your spirit and your emotions that allow you to kind of like get the stuff you want in creative and unique ways. So just be open to the possibility of kind of achieving and getting things. Just fucking fly. Jesus Christ. Okay. It's important to acknowledge that with the influence of Venus and Leo, this characteristic can sometimes become a flaw, right? And this is where we get into flightiness or moving too quickly through situations. And I just want to be communicating the double-sided nature of being able to do whatever you want whenever you want. If that becomes moving too quickly through situations and kind of running from one thing to another, that's not going to help you. It's just being open to the possibilities of anything can happen, but not necessarily going through the motions of running from one thing to another, because that can A, become exhausting. B, it's very hard to get some forward momentum consistently going if you're constantly running from one thing to another. So just be aware that you have this infinite potential and infinite possibilities, but you don't want to be going to infinite things within a certain time frame, because that's just going to kind of, again, delay the process of you getting the wisdom you need from these situations. You ultimately will come out of this with an amazing amount of wisdom, a wonderful sense of kind of who you are, and a stronger foundation for building the things you want to build. But you are absolutely still in this process of kind of figuring it out. Just be patient with yourself. Don't rush so much that you have to figure everything out all at once, because that's just ultimately kind of maybe going to leave you in a state of frustration. And that's a difficult place to kind of build momentum from. Frustration is a hard place to build consistency and momentum from, okay? Again, the presence of Mars in Libra here can also be a guiding force to help you navigate this aspect of personality more effectively. So this is the ability to kind of take action and movement and move towards things that you really care about and are passionate about. So just be aware that you will have this sense of energy to work towards the things that are important to you. Don't neglect that. Try not to get so beaten down that you can't take the next step, because you do need to take the next step, because that's how you get through this, okay? Now, by encouraging yourself to engage emotionally and utilize conventional methods, this cosmic alignment empowers you to channel your unpredictability into positive and productive endeavors. And what this means is it's like you have this ability to kind of find the perfect solution to any situation. And that's because you're open to all possibilities. But if you are able to kind of put your emotions to use to serve you rather than to kind of upset you and pull you away from various situations, that's when you're going to be stepping into your power. That's when you're going to be able to utilize all of these kind of limitless possibilities to achieve the things you want to achieve. So if you're getting bounced from thing to thing, though, that's not really going to happen. You're probably going to be emotionally unstable and kind of not be able to find that foundational element of what you're looking for. So just remain adaptable and open to the perspective of others. Understanding that true progress can be achieved through empathy and constructive communication, right? So this really does speak to the fact that, you know, when engaging with other people, try to understand where they're coming from. People may have, like, if you look at people as ultimately reflections of the one, right? They're there to communicate deep, profound truths to you, but you have to be willing to listen and understand where they're coming from to get that kind of juice, right? To get that wisdom that they're ultimately trying to communicate to you. And if you don't like what they have to say and you immediately tune it out, you know, you're likely to miss some of the aspects of what's going on, and that's not really what you're trying to do. But again, trust in your own abilities to make concessions and adjustments along the way. And by be mindful of your emotions and be patient with yourself if you're feeling overwhelmed. Okay, so just, it's okay. It's natural to feel overwhelmed when things are kind of not great, or they seem like they're not great, and there's a lot going on and it's chaotic out there. But just trust everything is okay. It's gonna work out. I can promise you that. I can promise that this is very temporary. And just be open to new experiences and meeting new people. Try to stay as open as possible. I know that can be difficult when we're going through situations where we potentially want to be guarded because things are so chaotic that we can't really trust exactly what's going on. But as long as you trust your intuition and follow your heart and what you really care about, you're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. It's going to be something that's in your rear view mirror sooner rather than later. And just remember to set goals for yourself and take tangible steps to achieve them. That's one of the things that we do in Virgo season, which lasts up until September 23rd, is make tangible goals and set intentions. A great time to do that is the new moon in Virgo on September 14th. Really get out your journal, whip out specifically what it is you would like to be doing, write those things down, and see if you can achieve those within the couple of weeks before the Aries full moon on the 29th of September. So in summary, yes, it's a bit of a gnarly month. Again, Aquarius, there are some situations that will require you to exercise patience and open-mindedness, but at the end of the day, you're going to be fine. It's not going to kill you. And that which does not kill you only makes you stronger. That's kind of the mantra for this month. I apologize that the energy isn't a little bit smoother. It is a big transitional month for everyone. Luckily, we do have Mercury and Venus retrograde ending. We have Jupiter retrograde starting, which is really related to growth and expansion. So just pay attention to areas of your life that are needing to grow and expand, and you're going to be fine. So let's get into the cards. We got the the Eight of Wands here. Of Swords. Jesus Christ, Noah. Oh, a little jet lag still. The Eight of Swords here speaks to a transition, and we have it reversed, which means that this transitional period you're going through may still yet be a little bit rocky, right? So you're going through this. You might not see clearly what is going on. The terrain in front of you is a little bit difficult, but nevertheless, you will get through it, okay? It's not going to be a situation where it's so horrible you can't make it forward, but you don't get the luxury of actually seeing exactly what you're going through. So I understand that transitions can be difficult when we don't have all of the information about what this transition is for or why we're going through it, but just trust that it's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world, okay? Then we have the Page of Cups reversed here, and this speaks to the ability, just don't take things too seriously, okay? The Page of Cups, we want to see upright. We want to see this playful curiosity. We want to see this ability to kind of not take things lightly with levity, find the humor in things, like not necessarily get so bent out of shape with stuff. But this may be an indication that you're taking things just a little bit too seriously, whether this is in relationship or whether this is related to your life or your finances or just, you know, your general mindset in general. In general, like this is don't take things too seriously. It is not going to help you or anyone else, and it's not accurate. You don't have to take things seriously. Try to play life more like a game. And yes, you may be playing it on very hard mode right now, and you may wish you would have picked easy mode for a little bit, but there's a reason you picked this specific situation to go through right now. And trust me, that reason is for you to learn some very important lessons about yourself, how life works, the relationship between your inner state of consciousness and belief, and what is outpictured on the screen of reality, the external world. So, you know, try to find the humor in it. Try to find how ridiculously silly. Sometimes when things are going really, really difficultly, you can just be like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Why is it even like this? This is such a silly thing to have to go through. Why am I going through this? And you can just laugh at it. And that's the correct approach. Okay, luckily we do have the Ace of Pentacles here showing up, which does speak to this new path of kind of abundance, not just in the material world, but really just in terms of like being able to correctly and accurately see a new way forward, a new path. And September, again, it is a month of new beginnings. It is a month that sets you up for the rest of kind of the year and even 2024 and beyond. So just recognize as you begin to come out of this kind of existential funk, you will be able to see the path laid out for you that kind of shows you a way forward that isn't going to be laden with all of this suffering and difficulty and chaos and kind of ebbs rather than flows. So that picture will begin to emerge. You just have to allow that to happen and try not to get frustrated that it's not happening faster. And then you will see more and more evidence that a new way of being, a new path forward is absolutely emerging. So just take some solace in that fact and know that this isn't a permanent state. This isn't something that lasts forever. You are not being punished eternally for some sin you've committed. Again, a sin here is not something that is like this horrible thing that you've done. It's just missing the mark. That's all it means traditionally, is that you would shoot an arrow and rather than hitting exactly what you wanted to hit, you hit something a little off target. You just correct your aim and shoot again. It's not this mortal flaw that you need to be punished for and eternally damned for. That's really not what it's about. So please don't think of sinning as something that grave and serious, okay? All right, let's pull some animal oracles and then we'll wrap it up. I've mentioned this in every reading. We're doing about half an hour for these readings this month. We'll go back to the longer form ones next month, but I just wanted to get all of these out there. And today we will be wrapping up with Pisces in a little bit, and then we will be done with the zodiacs. All of these recordings will be available on patreon.com/synchronicity. You also get Discord access there. It's a good time to join. We're getting a lot of content out. People are having a lot of fun. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and do so. There we go. Chameleon Spirit. Act as if. And this really speaks volumes for kind of like how to get through these tumultuous situations. Just act as though it's already happened. Right? Act as though the desire has been achieved. This is the core. This is why when we do the imaginal acts, we don't go through the act of doing it. We go through the act of it already having been done. It's done. It's completed. It's not something that we have to go through the motions of, and so we can convince ourselves that it is going to happen. It's something after the fact that is implied. It's already taken place. Okay, it's already a situation that has occurred. Therefore, you naturally can accept it within your mind, and it will happen. So just act as though these things have already happened. Act as though this tumultuous period is already over, and see how quickly that actually begins to take place in reality. White Raven Spirit. Trust in the magic. It's easy to lose touch sometimes with our own sense of divinity and magic when things aren't going the way we want. And it's easy to believe that maybe we've made a misapprehension about how reality works and the magic isn't there. And we wonder, why isn't it there? What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong. Sometimes part of the magic is recognizing that we need to learn things. We need to slow down. These ebbs sometimes are preventative measures that allow us to experience things that maybe we wouldn't have experienced otherwise. Maybe it would have been a different situation had it had happened at that point. Maybe we didn't have all of the wisdom or necessary information at our disposal to really fully appreciate getting something at that point. So just try to have this perspective that everything is working out at the right time, and magic does work in your favor. Numano, you're asking, did you ever hear when Goddard talked about astrology and the story about his friend using the wrong chart? Yeah, I have heard that story. And, you know, Goddard's thoughts on the divine arts like astrology and tarot are pretty firm. And I tend to agree with him, which is all this stuff is bullshit, right? All this stuff has no inherent meaning or substance, which I actually also believe. So you may be asking, why do I use astrology? Why do I use tarot? Because they're modalities, they're tools, they're just things that allow us to see the inner workings of our subconscious, how we react to those things, give us some insight into where we're at any given point. I do not believe astrology determines your life. I do not believe that tarot determines your life. It's your ability to put faith into that and just really recognize that you can use these tools effectively without believing that they are condemning you or making things happen. Neville Goddard believe, as I do, that your consciousness, your sense of I am, is the only creative force. It's what we would call the eternal body of man, God. That is it. But anything we can use to kind of usher and prompt that to create some situations for ourselves is totally valid. It's why I still use astrology. It's why I still use tarot. I find them to be effective tools because my subconscious does relate to them. It's like well, you know, if everything is bullshit, like, why do we still enjoy music? There's no inherent substance to it. It's just an illusory trick that our mind is playing on us. But we enjoy it. When we hear it, we love it. It can move us to emotions that are powerful, that helps us achieve various states. So recognize that there is no inherent substance to this stuff, yet we can use it effectively to evoke change. That's a very important point, and I'm glad you brought that up. Stag spirit, take the lead. And Aquarius, this is important for you. You are going to be in a leadership position. You are going to be in a place that requires you to kind of take charge of your life, right? It is often said that like it takes half of a lifetime to realize that you're running the show. It may not take you that long, but it does take a little bit to recognize you're in charge. You're the one doing this stuff. No one else is going to be doing it for you. So when you recognize that, you can start to do the things you need to do to kind of stay on top of your game. Okay. You know, Aquarius, you got a month. What can I say? It's going to be one of those things. It's not the end of the world. You're going to be okay. But, you know, I'll see you here next month. Hopefully we get a better kind of reading. And again, none of this stuff is written in stone. You may be having a wonderful time. There may be no tumultuousness and chaos. But if the energies are kind of pointing in this direction, hopefully you got something out of this and you'll be able to navigate it a little bit more successfully. So I'll see you in a little bit for the Pisces reading, and then I will post all of these recordings up on the Patreon soon.